Hello and welcome back to the marketing podcast for local businesses, the place where small business owners turn dreams into reality through smart marketing. My name is Adam and I run websitedesigners.london. We're a website designer which is ranked in the top 1% in the UK and London, helping businesses generate tens of millions of pounds.
And my name's Josh, and I'm the founder of ImproveMySearchRanking.com, a specialist SEO agency based in South London. We've helped more than 400 businesses generate over £200 million in sales. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what to expect when hiring a web design agency. This is part 2 in the series. In the previous episode, we spoke about the initial consultation process, defining the scope of a website build, and also the pricing and payment kind of structures that web design agencies typically use. Today, we're going to be looking at the timeline side of things, the design process, content creation, and possibly some other areas as well as we go through this series on what to expect when hiring a web developer. So, to kick things off in this episode, let's talk about the timeline and project management of a web build.
Amazing, absolutely. So look, you need to be realistic with your clients, right? It's one thing. In fact, at the bottom of my proposals, I have this sentence. So I give clients the expected time it will take to develop a project, and that there's a sentence at the bottom of that says, "Oh, I'm sorry," and on the first page as well, we state how long it will take, and then on the kind of last page where we kind of break down what we do in each week. So let's say on the first page it says, "Oh, it'll take us 10 weeks to do the project," and on the kind of breakdown of the timeline, it typically says 9 weeks, 8 to 9 weeks, and then typically you're like, "Hang on, you said 10 weeks at the beginning. Now you're saying 8 to 9 weeks at the kind of at the breakdown page of the timeline." And there's a sentence right at the bottom which I love, which is, and customers love as well, which is, "You may notice that we've quoted 1 week, that we'll finish this project 1 week earlier than initially stated. And the reason why is because we like to under-promise and overachieve rather than overpromise and underachieve." So ultimately, and when we did kind of our research and through experience, clients tell us, "Don't tell me it's going to take me 10 weeks and then take 11 or 12 weeks," because some clients plan their whole operations, their whole business around the launch of their website, right? So it's super important you have a buffer, or we have a buffer, just in case, because something may go wrong which is unexpected, and we absolutely, a good web designer will absolutely take stock for that. So again, if an informational website could take between 2 and 6 weeks, right? We always quote 4 to 6 weeks, and we tend to deliver a simple information website between 3 and 4, sometimes 2. A larger e-commerce website, that could take between 6 and 9 weeks. But it does heavily involve, and it is dependent on how organized the client is as well. Right? And I know, I'm sorry to throw this back at you guys, but as in, we can make your lives as easy as possible. If you are happy to give us full reign on the project with minimal direction, then less so important on the client. But if a client is really specific about what they want, and they want to be in full control of their content, then we need that content from the client. And I know we'll come on to that later on in terms of content creation and integration, etc. But if let's say, Josh, you're the client and you have all the images that you want to use because you've taken them, and you have all the text that you want, as in, here's a story about my baker or whatever, about my baking company, and why I became a baker, and send it to me. You've already sent it to me, then we can deliver. Without that, it's a bit more challenging because we're reliant on you, unless you've given us full reign to to kind of, or you've hired us to take your photography or your videography, or then fine, that's on us. But hopefully that gives you kind of a general gist on rough timelines. In terms of the kind of meeting of deadlines, as I say, it's super, super important for us that we always meet deadlines. If as soon as we know something which is very, very rare, that may cause our deadline slip, an immediate communication and regular communication with the client, weekly, if not sometimes every couple of days. And I think you're gonna hear me say this throughout, but communication is so key, because the client wants to, certainly as a client myself of other products, if I'm having my office converted, I want the builder to tell me what's going on. Have you is there some asbestos that's going to take me extra 3 weeks to build? Then I want to know, because I'm maybe planning my meetings around the availability of that meeting room, right? So yeah, and in terms of how we communicate, we do have a inbuilt, again, this is just website designers.london. I'm sure other web developers and other agencies may have other tools, third-party tools that they might use to communicate and project manage. We have our own really cool, if I may say so myself, in-house project management tool. And it's accessible by the client and by our team. It shows you the milestones, what we've achieved. It allows you to input feedback. And in terms of communication, everyone who's signed up or who is on that platform for that project will get an email to say, here's the progress that WDL have made. So it kind of keeps them in the loop. Or here is some content that we need, please send us. Now, not all clients, some clients just like picking up the phone, and that's okay. But we still use a project management tool because it helps our team. And in terms of further communication, we also have a business WhatsApp, which is, I think, a great hit with our clients, because everyone nearly uses WhatsApp. And it's just an instant way of communicating with our clients.
Perfect. That's really useful information. I feel with the meeting of deadlines, one other element there is ensuring that the client comes back to you on time as well as you doing the same thing. But yeah, that's one thing I see with SEO as well, is that we ask for some feedback on some keyword research, and if the client takes 2-3 weeks to respond, then it kind of delays the whole project. So it's also on the client as much as it's on us to deliver a great service. In some elements of the campaign, we need them to input as well. Yeah.
No, I agree. And look, guys, and again, I must say, the majority of our clients are great. They are passionate, they love their business, and therefore they are super prompt and on it, which we love. And sometimes clients have just got lots going on, right? We've got a client who launches several campaigns of various other bits. I've got buying other companies. We completely get it. It's just the timelines will slip, but realistically, it's all about communication.
Perfect. Okay, so we spoke about the timeline, project management. Now, the next step I've got in the web design process is the actual designing process.
Yeah.
What's the kind of approach to designing it? How does that work? How would you see an average web developer do that, or yourself at WDL?
Yeah. So the design process is, again, if it's a larger project, if it's a 3-page informational website for a baker, it will be very straightforward. It will be, what similar websites do you like the look of? Do you have an idea of what you want your website to look of? Typically, it will be, this is the sort of vibe I'm going for. I want it to be fun and friendly. Or let's say we had a client recently who has what they call a medi spa, like a beauty spa, based in Southeast London, and they were going for high-end luxury. So they want to, but a little clinical as well, because they want to make sure it's a clean but high-end and feels luxury. So, even with those words, the client's communicating those words to us gives us an immediate feel of what we want the website to look like in terms of the design. Now, if you imagine the more steps to a process for a web designer, the more time it will take and the more it will cost the client. And what I mean by that is, if a client is happy not to have an image of how their design will look like before we actually build the website, so what they call a wireframe or a web design mock-up, it's essentially the web designer will use a tool to add some shapes, images, and send an example of what the website might look like to the client. They'll sign it off and say, hey, I like that page. I like the style of that. I like the way my website's going to look. Now, could you go and develop the website, actually build the website? Because at this point, we haven't touched any coding or anything like that. So that's that step, that wireframe website mock-up stage would be typical for a larger website and a more complex website with a client with a larger budget. So we'll design, again, we've got a client who sells to supermarkets. They're one of our huge clients. We absolutely had a wireframe for them because they've got a bigger budget. They want to know what their website is going to look like before we develop it. And the reason why we have a wireframe is because it takes significantly more time to change code once you've developed the website and change the design of a website once you've developed it than it is to change a few squares and shapes. And I say squares and shapes, I'm just talking about the design, the wireframe mock-up, the image of a design. So typically it's larger client. What do you want it to look like? We design a mock-up, wireframe. Yep, I like it, or I don't like it. Let's change it a bit. Okay, great. Now I like it. Now develop the website. Okay, yep, functionality is great. Change this a few bits. Okay, we'll change that. A few back and forths there, and then give them the final product. A simple 3-page baker who just has a few hundred quid will go straight to the design page. No mock-up. I guess for SEO it's a bit different in that you probably don't have that phase, but it's a communication of the keywords that you probably need to nail down.
Yeah, I suppose the mock-up, the wireframes equivalent in SEO would be the keyword research,
Yep.
Finding out what the client wants to go after. Okay, is there anything more on the design process?
Yeah, so we talked about the importance of the design. The design is super, super important, right? And again, if we think of Amazon, I know I rave on about this, but it's so important. Easy checkout, right? What Amazon one-click checkout. So when you go on Amazon website and you there's 2 buttons: buy now or add to checkout. I don't think it's buy now or something like that, or add to basket and checkout now or something like that. As soon as you click on the product, they make it so easy for you to check out. The design is what facilitates that process. So the design needs to serve the primary purpose of the website. And that's where SEO is key.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you'll see some interlink with the previous series of around what to expect with an SEO consultant. So ultimately, the design will be super key for a number of things, not only for aesthetics, but also for conversions, for sales, for referrals, etc. And that comes with that. You've got the responsiveness. So can you view a website with ease and use a website with ease on your smartphone? Because the majority of people use smartphones to visit websites rather than the desktop nowadays. And so that's that. And I'm going to move on now to the design of a website, but specifically some web developers may use themes or pre-built templates. Now, there are pros and cons of both, of having a completely custom bespoke design versus a pre-built template. The 3-page baker, the 3-page website for the baker who only has a few hundred quid, more often than not, you're going to have a template, but you can still make that look very unique. So don't think, oh, he's using a template and therefore it's going to look like a copy and paste version of every other website. I mean, a terrible web developer, yes, maybe, but not us. And then you've got the large client who will want a custom built. It's very, 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 very bespoke, very specific, and they've got a bigger budget. So the pros and cons: one's cheaper than the other. One's more bespoke than the other, and one's quicker to build than the other.
Yeah, I was going to say the pre-built template for a small business, the major pro of that would be the speed of which you could develop that and launch it,
Yeah,
as well as the price as well.
agreed.
One quick point. So you mentioned about the design process, the importance of it being responsive and being built with SEO in mind as well. We do have a previous episode also on conversion rate optimization, which you touched on, Adam, so that might be worth referring back to understand what are the best things to include in your design to make sure the site works in terms of generating inquiries, sales, getting more people to sign up to your email list, and other conversions you'd like people to get. Okay, cool. So the next element is the content creation and integration phase. So we briefly touched on this earlier as well, where we spoke about who's responsible for the content creation, providing that information to the web developer. Is it the agency who's going to be doing all that and handling that, and also the kind of photography, or is the client going to provide the images and the content? How does that kind of process work?
Sure. Whatever the client wants, really, is the answer to that. And the short answer to that is, if the client has images that are happy with or happy with sourcing themselves, then fine. Again, for example, we're a full service agency. So if you pick up the phone and say, hey, I need some videography, I need a drone, I need some photography, we'll get one of our guys down there and help you with that. Or in terms of, so that's the images and videos. Or if you're happy to provide that, as I say, that's absolutely fine. The copywriting, obviously that would come with an extra charge, and I'm sure you wouldn't expect anything less. The role of copywriting, so i.e. copywriting being the content, the words on the page of the websites. Again, so that depends if the client, typically would need input from the client to better understand their product or service, because they know their product better than we do or their service better than we do. So we would need some input. That may be in the form of a conversation on the phone and us taking notes and then elaborating on that. That may be them sending us a few sentences and us expanding on that. Or that may be the client sending every single page, extremely diligently with every single word. I want this text there, I want that text there, etc. And we're happy with either way. That's absolutely fine. We're very flexible, but we would always try to provide our feedback and inputs on customer content, especially words and images, to ensure that it is search engine optimized. I.e., you want keywords in there. If you're a baker in Tottenham Court Road, you want the words Tottenham Court Road and baker as a number one thing. You're also going to want hyperrealism. If you're designing cakes that are hyperrealistic, you want keywords in there. So if the client has just sent you some text without those words, we'll probably edit it a little to make sure it includes those words.
Yeah, with the baker example, and with most small businesses, we find sometimes that they want to provide the content, which is great and really useful, but what they don't do is they don't know the importance of SEO-friendly content, so that needs to be adjusted. They also perhaps aren't the best at the messaging in terms of writing compelling headlines, some compelling copy, compelling call to actions. So I'm sure you would do this, and we do it as part of our SEO as well, is we would review that copy.
Yes.
And then we would suggest, can we change the headline to this so it has the keywords and it's a compelling headline? Can we add a call to action? Can we, create some sort of offer that we can incorporate into the content as well?
Absolutely. And as Josh said, please do listen to our previous episodes where Josh talks about the conversion rate and SEO as well.
Perfect. Okay, so today we spoke about content creation, design process, the timeline and project management of a web design project, and we're nearing the 21-minute mark again here. So I think we'll split the episode again, and next time in part 3 of what to expect when hiring a web designer, we'll talk more about the technical aspects, perhaps the SEO integration and other digital marketing solutions, communication, testing, and a variety of other topics.
Amazing. Look forward to it. Thanks all.
Thank you. Cheers.